Hey everybody, Shane Presley here, Rock Paper Podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in to another brand new episode. Today's feature, singer-songwriter Bob McKee. Had a lot of fun hanging with Bob, talking about his brand new solo record, and we get into some stories behind some of these songs. Hope you enjoy it. I do want to remind you, as always, Rock Paper Podcast is brought to you by Friendship Brewing Company in Wentzville, Missouri, serving up all your craft beer needs. With over 25 rotating taps out there, they've sure to got tasty beverage just right for you. They've got also a full menu of tasty food, all kinds of delicious eats out there. You got your burgers and nachos and flatbread pizzas and salads and pretzels, and they've been doing fish fry Fridays all through Lent. So if you want to come out and grab a beverage and some fish, come on by. And they got some great live music happening. On Thursdays, they've been doing a Singo Bingo night, and Thursday, March 23rd will be Golden Oldies. And Friday, March 24th, Lauren Hoffman takes the stage. Saturday, March 25th, my buddy Denver Wade Trent returns. You can find their full beer menu, food menu, and concert calendar at friendshipbrewingcompany.com. And be on the lookout, 2 new locations opening very soon in the Flint Hill, Missouri, and Hannibal, Missouri area. So stay tuned for more info about that. Again, friendshipbrewingcompany.com. Follow along with them on Facebook and Instagram. And I got a big show coming up I would love to tell you about on May 14th. We'll be over at the Old Rock House from 3 to 7 p.m. for the 3rd Debstock. This is a benefit show I put on in my mother's memory. I lost my mother to brain cancer, glioblastoma, in 2019, and been putting the show together since and having a lot of fun raising funding and awareness for brain cancer patients, and would love to have you out there with us. Bring mom out and let's have a good time over at Old Rock House, May 14th. That is Mother's Day. Again, 3 to 7 p.m. Music and entertainment from Russo and Company, Emily Wallace, Ryan Chaney, and comedy from Meredith Hopping. Tickets are available right now at etix.com. You can find more info at rockpaperpodcast.com or oldrockhouse.com. And or feel free to message me and I'll drop a ticket in the mail for you. If you need anything else from me, you can always find me at rockpaperpodcast.com. Hit me up on the socials. Email me, rockpaperpodcast@gmail.com. I would love to hear from you all. And with that out of the way, sit back, relax, and enjoy a brand new episode with Bob McKee.
A podcast is kind of like it's like a radio show that's not on the radio. It's on the internet. Does that make sense? Uh-huh. Yeah. That's also like my mom. It makes it sound more confusing, doesn't it? It sounds like this.
This is Bob McKee. We're listening to Rock Paper Podcast.
Rock Paper Podcast.
This is beat paper, paper covers rock. Rock beats is the Shane covers non-stop. Never know what new kind of guest that he's got coming at you. Live and direct on the spot. Could be rock, folk, country, or hip-hop, jazz. All kind of folks that he has. Could be an artist or a comedian to make you laugh on the
Rock Paper Podcast.
double-decker fudge round, rolling round town. Shane coming at you live and direct from ground zero. He's your hero, he's your bestie. Rock Paper Podcast with Shane Presley.
Rock Paper Podcast.
Hey everybody, Shane Presley here, Rock Paper Podcast, coming to you from St. Louis, Missouri. Hanging out today with returning guest, Bob McKee. Welcome to the show.
Shane, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is cool, man. I'm really glad to be here. We got a brand new record to talk about, and so I'm excited to take a deep dive into that with you.
Yeah, I'm excited. Thanks for having me on.
I pulled it up, man. It was just while we're talking here, catching up, and you appeared with the Vondrukes on the show in 2016. It's kind of crazy to think about. It's been that long ago, man.
Yeah, a long time, and I think that was right around our On This Ride Together release.
Right. Yeah. I think we. So that was. It's been a minute since we got to hang out, so that's what's fun for me for this show is like getting these kind of things where like we all get busy running around doing all of our own things, and so it's kind of nice to schedule some time to see some of your friends around town and get to sit down and actually talk about some of the things we're working on. So
yeah.
So that's what I enjoy doing with this show, and I'm glad to be here hanging with you. So let's being that I don't. We've been friendly for several years now, but I don't know a ton about Bob McKee's story. So I always kind of like to start at the beginning. But was St. Louis always been home for you? Is it?
St. Louis has been home.
Yeah.
I did spend a few years in Kansas City for college, and then moved back around 1999. But yeah, St. Louis is home, and happy to be here.
Yeah. Was and always guitar for you?
No, I grew up playing violin through high school. Picked up guitar right in the middle of the hair band era.
Yeah,
and took some lessons from a great teacher, Steve Bice, and I continued to play a little bit through college, and after college is really when I started to do a lot of writing and, pick up the guitar and write some silly songs and, nothing substantial, but that's kind of where it started.
Yeah. It was at, so what were you, do you remember any of those songs? Do you, what you were like?
Yeah. At the time I was kind of into blues, and, in college, I played with a really small band. We wrote a song called "It's All Good," and it was a bluesy song. It was a silly song, but that was probably the first song I wrote.
Yeah.
So, but I was big into blues, and when I moved back to St. Louis, spent a lot of time down at BB's and off Broadway or Beale on Broadway.
Yeah, Beale. Yeah. R.I.P.
Yeah, R.I.P. So,
yeah. I guess it's getting all. I haven't been down there in a bit, but a total overhaul now. Billy's on Broadway, I think it's called, and so we'll see how that turns out and stuff. But I'm just glad that I wish it would have been preserved as Beale, but I'm glad something's happening there because it was sad to see it deteriorate the way it was and just sitting there vacant for quite a while. So
yeah, they did a real good job with it when they reopened that spot and initially, and spent a lot of good nights out there, and the patio was really cool.
Sure. Yeah. Oh yeah, a lot of great. I mean, that was it was a good chunk of years. I was bouncing back and forth between the Blues Triangle down there, Oyster Bar, Beale, and BB's, and trying to soak it all in as much between you got your Marquise and Jeremiah Johnson and Big Mike and Al Holliday and a bunch of the regulars that played down there and stuff. So it was always a lot of fun going down there on the weekends, and but yeah, I'm with you. There's a lot of blues influences in my taste too, and early on, and I think it's I remember Dad and Mom playing a lot of classic records from whatever Clapton and B.B. King and Allman Brothers and ZZ Top and that kind of stuff. There's some different variations of the blues and stuff, but Yeah.
Yep. A lot of good blues players out of St. Louis, like Henry Townsend.
Yeah.
Got to see him play.
Oh, nice.
That was pretty special.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, Alonzo's become a great friend over the years, and so he's been on the show, kind of sharing a little insight on his father's legacy and stuff. So, yeah. So I've never met Henry myself, at all, but it was nice to talk to Alonzo about it. So
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think right around that time, I started to learn a little bit about some of the older, cheaper guitars and like the Ks and the Silvertones, and kind of got into that for a while. There was a guy that owned a shop in U City called, and his name was Mike King, and he kind of specialized. Like he specialized in that gear before White Stripes made it cool.
Yeah.
And I kind of got into that for a while. I still have a couple, but yeah, that's kind of what was going on around that time. And met a guy who I befriended, and his name was Dirty Steve, and Dirty Steve kind of introduced me to like Uncle Tupelo, and I think at the time Bloodshot Records was getting going, and kind of started going down that path. And at the same time, I was listening to like a lot of Bob Dylan and then Richard Buckner, and and like I think J4R was playing his solo albums at the time. He was doing some solo work. So it was like right around there when I really started honing in more on writing and working on songs.
Yeah. So is this your debut as a solo artist then with this record, or?
It's a debut album, but before I played with the Vondrukes, I had a band called 10 High, and before 10 High, I did play out solo. I'm not going to say often, but I was fortunate. I got to play with Fred Eaglesmith. I opened for Fred. That was really cool. So, and there were some other good shows that somehow I got to open up for, and I think a lot of those were off Broadway. So that was really nice. And I remember the very first show I played. Afterwards, Larry Weir came down and talked to me, and he's like, "You know what? I wasn't expecting to stick around for your show, but it was you had me from the first song, and I probably should really credit Larry for inspiring me to keep going, because it's not always easy. And if Larry hadn't come down, I don't know if I would be sitting here today and have just released an album last month."
Yeah. It's cool when you get those little nods along the way that somebody's telling you that you're on the right path, kind of thing. Like those you're doing something right. So I had a moment, kind of I went similar sentiment, that kind of thing. But like, I've been doing this show for a while now, and like, I ran into some guys that are like kind of lifelong radio guys the other day, and they listened to an episode I did recently, and they were telling me it sounded good and all this stuff, and they were giving me some nice compliments, and I was just like, well, this feels pretty good. Like, it's cool to hear that guys that are do this professionally, like, are listening and enjoying what I'm doing. So
right.
Yeah. So yeah, it's nice when you hear those things like that.
Sometimes it's just a small pat on the back,
right?
Make you to let you know, hey, you're on the right path.
Yeah,
you're doing something good here.
Right. Yeah. So it's I'm with you, man. Those are cool things to hold on to, those moments like that, and like, all right, yeah, maybe keep going, because there's I know. I mean, I think it's like all creatives. I feel like we all, one way or another, have our self-doubts and our own criticisms and stuff, where we just get in our heads sometimes thinking that this, why am I doing this, or what, and then you have those people that kind of give you a little validation that, hey, this is, keep doing it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and so I had been playing some solo shows, and at the time I had the band 10 High, which was just a real alt country forward band. And kind of toward the end of 10 High, I started playing with Matt McGahee and Dave Hansen with the Poorhouse Says. That's when we formed that band, and it was more, I'd say, folk rock or indie folk, whatever. But we were real focused on finding what every song needed, and Matt McGahee and I would write the songs and kind of take them to the band without a whole lot of instruction or ideas for everyone else, and just kind of let everyone figure out what needed to be done with the song. And that was a really enjoyable part of the process. And, just really understanding that every song kind of has ultimately certain parts that it needs. And, it's kind of a puzzle, and you work through it to figure out what's needed to finish that song.
Yeah. Are those all those records are online, right?
Yeah, the Poorhouse Says released a few albums, and then we split up about 4 or 5 years ago.
Right. Yeah. And the Vondrukes records are available everywhere too.
Yep, Vondrukes albums are out there, and Jeff Griswold and I formed the Vondrukes over a decade ago. I can't believe it's been that long. Yeah. But yeah, so we've got a few albums, and we've been real fortunate with the shows that we've gotten to play.
Yeah, well, and you all joined back up just a couple of weeks back now and played a show. We said first in 40 months or something.
First show in over 40 months, and between COVID and we have a new drummer, Justin Fulbright, who's fantastic, and broke a finger. Literally broke a finger, so that set us back a little bit too, and he's still playing through it. I think his bone is still separated from part of his fingertip.
That's metal.
Yeah. And dedication. Yeah. And so it was our first show back, and at the Heavy Anchor, it was a lot of fun. We got to see some old friends we hadn't seen for a while too.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that it was cool to see that like I said, you guys are back on the calendar and stuff, because there's a lot of bands and projects that didn't make it through COVID, so it was nice to see you guys back up on a stage.
Yeah, and we've been working hard. We've got a lot of new material, and I know we've got a show booked in May out in Kirkwood. But yeah, we're excited.
Yeah. Well, let's get into the solo record, and this is, like I said, we were kind of talking about but this. So this is you're the first record you've done as a solo artist, right?
It's the first record I've done as a solo artist. Right. And when I was, I think, 28 or 29, I told a friend, if I don't do a solo album by the time that I'm 30, I'm giving up. I'm done. And so it's literally been over, almost 20 years now.
Right.
So yeah, 20 years.
I guess it started back then. Well, what was the really drive to want to make sure to put a solo record out?
Yeah, I just have, I have so many songs that I've written, and it's not that every song is great, because it's usually 1 in 20 or 1 out of 30 songs, right? That you sit down and write, and they become something that you feel is really worth presenting to someone and sharing with people. And I just really wanted to get it done. And so for this album, I looked at some of the songs, went through my notebooks and started narrowing down certain songs that I wanted to include. But then I also wrote new songs for it too. So there are some songs in there that I wrote, 17 years ago. And there are a couple of newer songs specific for the record.
Okay. And this is titled I Don't Want You In Here. This is now readily available wherever you get your digital music. And you can download it, Bandcamp and stuff. And
yeah, it's out on the usual, Spotify, iTunes, all those. You can even stream it free from my website, bobmckee.net. So it's out there for free. Even.
Did you do any? You gonna do any physicals or anything, or just the?
I do have some hard copies, and I think that there are a handful of those that you can order online, and I've got the rest. Yeah.
Nice. This is, I gave it a good listen last night, and then again on the way back over today just to get ready to talk about it, and I enjoyed it, man. There was some fun songs. I enjoy the stories. That's always one of my favorite things about singer-songwriters is the storytelling in the songs. And I'll start with a song called Cars that I enjoyed because, I think we've had songs focused on maybe one car or, around cars. But it was fun to hear you write like moments in time throughout your life and the cars that in correlation to relationships and stuff too. So like it was, I don't know, it was just a unique approach to writing. I thought this was fun.
Yeah, I think I mean, you kind of hit it on the head. I wanted to kind of take a look back at my life through in using cars as the way to talk about different, whether they were just timelines, pieces of my timeline and how I ended up where I am. And, I think thinking about it that way really made me present the songs a very specific way. And I think it was fun. I think about the cars that I ever drove and time spent with someone all alone. There were cars I loved, some were a waste. I keep the cars in rear view days. 71 Cutlass, ragtop 350. Drove it top down and sweaty to see my love. We were 2 years in, 2 years to go. I ran a light and wrecked it all. Her God had a plan and I wasn't enough. '88 Ford Tempo was humbling. Behind the wheel, life was stuttering. Privilege to pretense, one crumbling coal. Late night runs to cure it all. Those late nights would make up for breakup falls. '92 Prelude was sexy. It found the casinos and married me. I rode her hard and harder she screamed. She'd had enough and was over me. Her love was done before 30. 2004 Ford Focus, Eurotrash style for a Midwestern boy. Found a gal from Mason City who didn't like cars, but she liked my style. Settled down with the right kind of gal. Now I've got a family van, drive with a smile and a kid in the back. Took a few cars to get me this far. Life highways needed every car. My life highways needed every car. I think about the cars that I ever drove and the time spent with someone all alone. There were cars I loved, some were a waste. But I keep the cars in rear view days. I keep the cars in rear view days. Scott Swartz plays pedal steel on that, and which is real cool. He did a great job. He's on a few of the tracks, and he played with me in Ton High and he sat in with the Vondrukes a little bit since then. And Rachel Parkin plays fiddle on it. She was great, and she's someone that I've always wanted to, work with musically, and so she didn't hesitate when I reached out to her. She sounds great on it. But yeah, the song Cars is taking a look at my life or timeline through different autos.
I enjoyed that there was a shout out to the Ford Tempo. I give you my first car. My dad bought me an '88 Crown Vic station wagon. So at 16, I was cruising around in that with a bunch of I think of one day I took like 13 people in it to the bowling alley and like packed it out, and of course like had the two bucket seats in the back or whatever, or pop-up seats or whatever in the back.
Right? Did they face backwards?
Faced each other.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
I don't know. It was that was a party on wheels, man. We used to, and then I had this like I was at a buddy's house and I found this like Halloween decoration, this like plastic rat that was like a rubber or whatever, and I duct taped it to my hood ornament on my car, and like I used to get a lot of people, a lot of attention, a lot of people looks, and but yeah, that car was a lot of fun. But anyway, after that, I drove the hell out of that car, and then ended up buying my buddy's. I needed something, and I bought my buddy's car for $800, 93 Ford Tempo. So,
was it worth about $800?
Yeah, I mean, I got a good, at least a year out of it, so I feel like I got my money's worth and stuff.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, so it was, I think it was his dad's car, and then he drove it for a while, and then he ended up getting something new, and then I was just like, I just need something to, get back and forth to work kind of thing, because I just. And I had no money, so I was like, well, this will get me by for now. And so it was definitely did the job.
Yeah. I'd say $800 for a year for a car.
And it was like getting 30 miles a gallon or something, whatever it was. And I was just like, it was like a little 4-cylinder, kind of. So I was getting pretty decent gas mileage for, even though I drove it like a bat out of hell most of the time. But no, it was just, I think that's kind of the fun of that song too, is like, it's fun to think about, look back at some of those times, some of those cars, and I think it gets, as a listener, you reflect on some of those, your own stories and stuff along the way. So think about some of your old early cars and stuff like that. So
yeah, well, that's great. That's good to hear.
Yeah. So this, man, it's a fun tune, and you mentioned getting some of the players. I think that's probably one of the best parts about putting together a solo record is kind of getting to handpick some various players. Obviously you got surrounded by a bunch of greats in your bands and stuff, but it's just fun when you're at the wheel and you get to handpick some other players to play on it. Yeah,
that was fun. And one of the things about this album that I wanted to try to do is play as many instruments myself as possible. Mm-hmm. And so that included bass and keyboard, guitars and accordion. I played accordion for a while. I took some Irish accordion lessons from St. Louis Irish Arts School here. And so I wanted to throw that in one song for sure. But I certainly cannot drum, and my bandmates would attest to that. And so David Beeman did all of the drum tracks, and he recorded them at Native Sounds, which is his studio.
Oh, yeah.
And so I'd shoot him over a draft of the song. He'd record it, shoot it back to me, and I would literally drop it in and maybe do like a little bit of EQ. But his stuff ended up being fantastic. And then Scott Swartz on pedal steel, we worked the same way with that. And then Rachel. And I originally on Cars, I wanted to try to pull out my old violin and force myself to sharpen up a little bit. And it was not happening at all. No, it was like screeching cat. So, Rachel laid down those tracks.
Yeah. That's, you don't get a lot of accordion, practice, I guess, right? Yeah.
No, I don't pull out the accordion very much anymore, but yeah.
I enjoyed maybe the world's greatest accordion player to some, for sure. Weird Al. I watched his movie a little while back, and with he did the biopic kind of thing. Did you watch that yet?
No.
It's really funny and well done. And Daniel Radcliffe plays Weird Al, and it's just ridiculous. But there's like I think he I forget, it's like a Grammy for best accordion player or something like that, or something along those lines. Like I can't think of exactly what the award was, but it was just funny that he's literally the only person to get this award kind of thing. So whatever it was, but yeah, it's pretty silly, but you just it was nice to get a little shout out to the accordion.
Right.
Yeah. So, but you can again find this record on your streamers, and maybe grab a physical copy and help support this project. I did I noticed the album art cover is a little blue fan.
It's a blue fan.
Yeah.
And maybe I should talk about the title, the album title a little bit. And growing up, I forget what age I was, but probably somewhere between 8 and 13, I would imagine, decided to put a sign on my bedroom door that said, "I don't want you in here." And I had drew a picture with a circle and a line through the circle and taped it up on my bedroom door.
All right.
And my parents kept that little picture, and they teased me about it. I mean, almost every single year. And when I was thinking about the album, I thought, that's kind of a perfect, what a perfect name for an album. And so I wrote, then I decided to write the song, "I Don't Want You in Here," the title track. And part of the lyrics in there refer to a blue fan in my window, because I remember growing up, in the summer, I'd have my window open at night, and I'd have that blue fan blowing. And, so I referenced it a couple times in the song, and I thought about maybe trying to find an old fan off of eBay or whatever and just taking a photo. But I sent it to a friend in Omaha, who's a musician too, Ethan Jones. And he's a graphic artist, and he's fantastic. And he did that album artwork.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So you wrote the song based off the title, right?
I did.
Yeah.
I thought it was kind of a good place to start, kind of a good lead-in for the album. I think, I'm trying. The songs are very personal on the album, but at the same time, I'm hoping that there's enough relatable content for the listener, because I think, we all have stories and emotions, and we all kind of have that room, and we don't always want people in that room, in our little emotional room. Sure. And that's kind of.
Well, I think that's kind of even as being a title of an album, thinking about that too. The same kind of idea that this is something personal. You are sharing it on a public form and everything else, sharing it with the world, but it's that whole kind of idea. These are this is kind of my own little thing. I don't want you in here, so. I don't know. I just think I think it's a cool little idea to think about it like that. We all have our personal space, but sometimes it helps to open the door and let people into your life and stuff. So
yeah.
But yeah, it's funny that it's become a running joke in your family though. Still.
Yeah, they certainly give me a hard time about it.
I guess a lot of angst or something where you are.
I just think growing up, there are times where you just kind of need your space, right. And I still do, and my wife is fantastic about that. Sure. So there's just times where you need to close the door and have your own space, and
Yeah.
whether it's write or, play some music, get things figured out.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, this was another fun tune, and like I said, the title track of the record. Is this do you now? Like I mentioned, like you had the title and you wrote back. Like, is that ever? Do you do that often, or is it more the titles come from what you wrote and you pull from?
I think usually the titles come from what I write normally, and I mean the whole songwriting process is pretty interesting because I don't approach it the same every time. I might sit down and and have a very specific idea.
Right.
Or sometimes I sit down with some chord structures or a riff or something like that. But it's pretty different every time, and it's different if I'm using pen on paper than it is sitting in a keyboard. And I think over the last 5 years, I've probably written more songs on the keyboard. The computer, and but I should probably get back to pen on paper, and it just forces me to write differently for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's cool that having more of a physical representation of these songs. Like, it is easy to get digital with everything, whether it's phone notes or a laptop and stuff. But I think it's always as a fan, you see some of the greats, like all these museums and different whatever it is, the collection of memorabilia over the years and things that they have, like notebooks full of their handwriting and their songs and all these things like that. And it's just like, as a fan of music, I think it's fun to have those things. There's not again, the same thing applies to having records and CDs and things.
Right.
I like having a physical representation of it, and then more just digital version of all these things. So
Right. And, just having the physical, like a notebook, if you sit down to write and you get stuck, you can just like flip through your notebook and look at things that you've done or things that you didn't finish,
right,
partial ideas and thoughts and stuff like that.
Yeah. So you said like some of these are like some up to like 17 years old or something like that.
Yeah, I think Wanderer is it's probably 17 years old, and I think I played that at the show that Larry Weir was at that I mentioned, and
now is that one that like is still hung around, or is that you like rediscovered it through one of those notebooks or something like that?
I've played it off and on. If I play a solo show, I would almost always play it. Jeff Griswold and I played it, I think, with Ten High a couple times, and so that one's been around and it's been kind of played out, and I wanted to revisit it and arrange it a little bit differently, and then Change My Mind is also pretty old, and I was playing a solo show a few years ago in Webster, and a friend of mine said, you know what, there's one song that you played that I could totally hear that on a record, and I was like, that's pretty interesting because it's a really old song that I don't pull out very often. And so I put it on there, and when I hear it, I think of my friend Teresa, and that's one of my favorite songs on the album from an arrangement standpoint. That was fun to do.
It's also like, obviously, other than Wanderer playing with the like you said with Ten High, but like, were any of these songs like pitched to bands, or did you put, the ones that you had, like were you thinking like, I'm saving this one for myself, like for this album eventually, or? Right.
I think, Wanderer maybe, but most of them, when I sit down and I write a song and I've got, my personal way that I write, from a genre standpoint, fluctuates a little bit, and I don't always know exactly. I don't sit down and say I'm gonna write a Vondrukes song,
right,
or I'm gonna write a solo song, and I write it and work through it and see kind of where it sits. And but most of these songs were, just for the record,
sure,
or solo.
Yeah, I just think, obviously, I think seems like everybody writes, and then like every now and then, like it might happen to fit, like you put it through that Vondrukes lens, or whatever it is, and it becomes that. But all of them can also be maybe reimagined as your own solo record too. So it's like, it's always kind of fun to hear that too, like hearing different takes on the same song.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, let's talk about one more tune, and you said this one had a fun story to go with it. It's Parasol Games?
Parasol Games, yeah. So this song is really, it's a snapshot of when my sister and I my family moved to a new home, and there were a lot of changes going on in my family. My parents gotten divorced, and so we were moving to a new home, kind of a new start. We were leaving our old friends behind, and you know, she and I don't remember a whole lot about where we used to live. I think I was probably 5 when we first moved away from that area, but I do remember things like we'd have block parties, and I would ride my big wheel on our street, and God forbid you visit the guy in the white house at the end of the street on Halloween. For whatever reason, it was like, no, don't go to that white house down at the end of the street. And you know, so all those kind of made it into this story, this song. And when we moved into our new home, it was a really stormy day. There was a tornado that went through our part of town, but we had no idea. We were, I think our parents were working, and we were young. We were just at home by ourselves, moving in, and we kind of grabbed an umbrella and we went outside and danced and sang while it was raining, and it was fun. It's a really cool memory for me, and I don't know that I initially purposely wrote it to be on this album, but as soon as I wrote it, I thought this is going on the album. And then to make it cooler, I asked my sister out of the blue if she would stop by and sing harmony on it, and she, you know, growing up, she played flute. She was a really good flautist, and but I don't know that I'd ever heard her sing, or if I did, I don't remember it. It was that long ago, and she came in and sang harmony on that song, and she sounds fantastic. So it was a really fun song.
all day, new day.
Is that your first time performing together then?
It was the first time that she sang. She actually played the flute with the Poorhouse Says at Off-Broadway. Okay. I think it was maybe a Tupelo or it was one of the artist tribute nights or concerts.
Yeah.
Or maybe it was someone else, but yeah. So one other time, that's it.
Yeah. Oh, that's very nice that you have this recording and reserved to save that memory and everything. That's
yeah.
I don't. It's man, not to get like too heavy, but like there was that's something that really like kind of resonates with me a lot, like more so as I wish I would have done more, before. But I realized like a little while back, like the power of even doing this podcast, like having those recorded conversations and stuff, and having since even doing this show, I've lost a few friends that, and I have these conversations recorded with them, and it's just like, and it's cool to have these moments and preserve that memory and stuff that way. And I was like, one that always kind of gets me is like, I saw Kevin Smith do like a Q&A thing at the pageant, and he was talking about podcasting a lot, and he was like saying like something about like the as the mind starts to slip and stuff as we get older, and like one of the first memories to go is like the sound of somebody's voice.
Oh wow. And
like, so like having all of this recorded and stuff, and he can always play back, and he does a lot of recording with his mom, like just talking to her a lot on the show, and so that's why he does it. And he's like, if he's gone or she's gone or whatever, like his kids can look back on all these things too. And so I don't know, that kind of like got me, like especially like with my own story. And then like I wish I would have I always kind of tried to get my mom to do the show, and she sat in on an episode with Al Holiday one day. So there's like I think she just says hi pretty much, like she was just having fun, like sitting in and like watching kind of thing, like. But she I kept trying to say, come on show, like talk to, and she's like, I don't know, what would I say, I'm not, I don't know, she didn't think anybody would be interested in it. I'm like, but so I never really had that opportunity, but it's like, so having something like that, your sister singing and stuff, having that memory and everything, that's super cool, man.
It is. It's like I said, it's real special. And it's kind of funny. So we're sitting here, and Shane, if you stare straight ahead, you see this clock. It's a Falstaff clock.
Right.
And my sister, so my grandfather used to work for Falstaff, and my sister just gave this to me for Christmas. It's a cool little clock, and every time that I see it, I think of my sister. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. It's just things like that are pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure. And it's nice to have those things like that too. Again, like just family heirloom type of things, holding on to those memories and stuff. So
yep.
I got a few different things from my grandfather, and it's just nice to even to hold on to those things for sure. They're more sentimental than anything else, but so well, that's it's cool to hear about that. But what is reading as the title Parasol? What is Parasol Games?
So it really refers to the moment where we grabbed the umbrella, and I kind of I didn't want to use the term umbrella. I thought parasol was a little bit cooler.
All right.
So it's adjacent to it. So It was when we grabbed the umbrella and went outside and kind of danced around and played.
All right.
And if you hear the song, there's kind of a bridge there's an instrumental bridge, and where there's some piano in there, and it's supposed to represent water, the raindrops and dancing around. So, and it sounds completely different than the rest of the song, but yeah.
I also thought it was, you mentioned also this in the White House, and I think that stuff's funny too, like, because I feel like no matter what neighborhood or era you grew up in or whatever, like kids did that, there was always like, maybe there was some truth to it, but also like I feel like sometimes it was like urban legend type of stuff, you know, like you start like making up stories and somebody says, you know, an older brother maybe or a sister or what, you know, somebody says something about that, and then
right,
and then it like gets blown out of proportion, like kind of thing, where everybody's like scared of this, whatever, you know, if it's a White House or whatever it might be, and then, you know, these stories become larger than life kind of thing sometimes, and
then you grow up and you find out, oh, it's just you know, for whatever reason,
right,
there was no big deal.
Yeah.
So
I just think that stuff's like those little, you know, it was fun to think about those stories, like, and I don't know. Also, as you're like, obviously that one kind of there's a reason why not to avoid the house, but you ever watch the It movie when the remake and stuff recently?
I haven't seen it.
It was really well done, like, but you know, of course, there's the house that they're all supposed to avoid and not go in, and but then they did it also a sequel as them as adults, and they still scared of the house 28 years later and stuff, you know, like kind of thing. And so it's you know, obviously there's a lot of reasons why to be scared of that house, but you know, it was just funny to see it all like come out and, you know, in film that way and stuff too. But yeah, I just, you know, it's fun to look back and think about some of those memories and stuff like that. So, will you again find this record and add it to your favorite playlist and get what do we? You said BobMcKee.net is the
BobMcKee.net
is the website. We can find the streaming there too. And can we purchase through the website, or is that
you can't purchase it through the website? I think you can go to Amazon and order it, or CD Baby.
And we don't have any dates yet, but I think we were kind of talking before we hit record, and I think it would be fun to organize a proper release party and celebrate this record, and maybe get Rachel and Scott and some of our friends to bring these songs to life live and someday. So hopefully we can make that happen.
Yeah, I think it would be a lot of fun, and my wife and I were just talking about it this morning. So I'd like to get it done, and I know kind of as part of that conversation we were talking about how, you know, with COVID, from a music standpoint, I wasn't playing out a whole lot. I was still writing and working on this record, but there wasn't a whole lot of output, and now suddenly I find myself, there's a lot going on musically. Mm-hmm. I've got this album, and the Vondrukes are playing out again and writing more music, and I've got this other project too. So it's like suddenly there's a lot going on.
Yeah, I felt like there even locally and nationally, I feel like everybody's trying to kind of make up for lost time kind of thing, you know. It's like there's a lot of great concerts happening and all this stuff. There's a lot of trying to make up for what we lost for 2.5 years or whatever. So
yep.
But yeah, you kind of tell me a little bit about it. But yeah, you got a new thing you might be working on coming up soon. So hopefully we'll be hearing a little bit more about that, and organizing a new project that you said to, like in the middle of COVID, kind of.
Yeah,
the idea came about.
Yeah, the after the Poorhouse Says split up, bandmate and friend of mine, Dave Hansen, who helped a lot with this album, providing a lot of feedback. And anyway, he and I have been playing together for a long time, and we wanted to keep going. And we've kind of been looking for the right fit for with drums and bassists as bandmates, and it wasn't happening. And so we said, you know what, screw it. Well, let's just start recording an album, just an EP with the two of us, and I can reach out to David Beeman to see if he'd be willing to do drum tracks, which he's done. Justin Fulbright from the Vondrukes also has laid down drum tracks for one of our songs. And so we've got a new project. It's we'll be releasing an EP, and the name of the band is Mr. Personality.
Yeah.
So
is that any idea when we might hear more?
Yeah, I think you'll probably find kind of a teaser track out there on social media in the next week or two.
All right.
So,
cool. We'll keep an eye out, and hopefully. And what's is there a good place to get involved with you online? I mean, I know you have your personal Facebook and stuff.
I do.
but
I've got my personal Facebook, and there's also a musician site as well called Bob McKee.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, an artist site.
Yeah.
Thanks.
All right. Well, I'll make sure to tag that when I post it all, so you can get and follow along with Bob on there on Facebook, and maybe we'll get hear some more about this soon. But yeah, I'm excited to hear what that might sound like. So, I got a couple of questions for you, Bob, and get your take on some of these. So, what about do you have a song that always gets stuck in your head, like, or did you
one specific song,
or like did you wake up like humming something this morning? Did you have one stuck in your head this morning, or
there's a song that the Vondrukes have been playing recently. It's a newer song, and it has been getting stuck in my head, and it's driving me crazy. It's a song that Jeff wrote, and yeah, I'm getting kind of pissed off about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, every now and then it'll I'll go to bed thinking about it, because I'm also thinking about maybe different arrangements on my parts or something, and then I wake up with it in my head again.
Right.
And yeah, so
Yeah, it's I don't know any of the science behind it or anything, but it is funny how like mine, it would be like one line on a loop, like kind of thing. Like sometimes like
just one line, and
and then my brain will like start remixing it, and so it starts getting exaggerated, all sorts of different ways, and or I'll start singing it through different voices, and those kind of things. Like I don't know why. I don't know why my brain works that way, but it's what happened the other day. I'm making breakfast, and the song that was stuck in there and on a loop was it was a line from Sir Mix-a-Lot, "Baby Got Back," and it was a little in the middle, but she got much back. I was just on repeat. Like I had to I don't know. So until I just go lose my mind completely and
That's
stuff.
funny.
So yeah.
Last week I kept having this crazy idea of what would happen if I took a couple songs on my album and I did like the remix thing where you put it to dance music.
All right.
And I kept thinking about that at night as I was trying to fall asleep, and that was driving me crazy.
Yeah.
Might be kind of fun.
Yeah. Get some 808s on a Bob McKee song. Yeah.
Anders Parker did it, and do you know Anders Parker? He's a singer-songwriter, but he did an entire album. He did a double, kind of a two-sided album, CD, if you will, and one of it was kind of folk rock, and the other part was completely electronica, but with folk music, and I loved it. And I've got a friend in New York, Francis Shui, who's he does a lot of different things, but he does like EDM, and he's got a couple albums out there under the name Policy, and I've kind of wanted to hook up with him just to see like if he'll send me some beats, and it's something definitely out of my comfort zone, but I thought it would be kind of fun to do. So
sure.
You mentioned the 808, and
yeah. You familiar with MK Ultra or Pat K and Ben Miller band?
I'm not.
So they're friends of mine from around the area. Pat K is in Columbia, Missouri. The K Brothers, as his project, has been in a bunch of different bands around Columbia area. The Hat Trick, and but anyway, they're like a real like old timey, Missouri kind of what a folk traditional stuff, like in kind of thing, like a lot of these like songs that just been handed down from generations kind of thing. And then Ben Miller is like he was in Joplin, Missouri. I think he's in like Fayetteville, Arkansas now or something. And he bands like very much a similar type of thing. A lot of like homemade instrument type of stuff, like kind of. And one time they had like the wash tub bass player and that kind of stuff like that. And anyway, so they went from like very raw, like acoustical instruments, yeah, and then now like they've decided to join forces and do this group called MK Ultra, M for Miller and K for K, and also play on previous MK Ultra, and it's like an EDM thing. It's like so they're learning all sorts of new instruments and electronic ways to make this music possible, but they're still doing a lot of this old. So it's almost like, which I heard him in an interview reference it, which I thought was really funny. But remember in Redneck's Cotton Eye Joe?
Yeah,
it's kind of in that vein. Like it's like this, Appalachian kind of country music like that, and over this dance groove kind of, yeah. And it's a ton of fun.
Cool.
And it's like they've been playing a bunch of festival stuff, and I'm sure like it's probably crushing at festivals. Like it's a spectacle in itself to see them because of the lights and everything else too. And but anyway, ton of fun, super high energy, and just a real good time. But they're coming to town here in March, so I'm excited to see them again.
Cool.
But anyway, it kind of ties into all that we were talking about too. Like it's fun to see people getting creative, taking something, even something that they've done previously and remix it. Like I said, like
reimagine it,
make it something completely different.
Yep.
So, but yeah.
Yeah, if Francis is listening to this, you need to send me some tracks.
Yeah. Let's see what that sounds like, man. All right. What about say a day comes along, we get a Bob McKee action figure. What would you like to see as your maybe 3 accessories with your action figure?
Bob McKee, it's got to have a lightsaber.
Yeah.
I'm a big Star Wars fan, and I mean, as soon as you said it, the Luke, like I can go upstairs and grab it for you. I've got a Luke Skywalker action figure from the early 80s.
Right.
Yeah. But it would have to have, and the lightsaber would have to retract into the arm. Absolutely. So that's what's going on with that. Yeah.
Any other accessories to go with it?
No, I mean, I would pretty much want it to be a straight ripoff of the Luke Skywalker with his robe.
Put your head on there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little fuzz on the chin. Yeah.
All right. Is there and maybe we kind of discovered it, but was there a dream duet or collaboration you would like to see for yourself? I mean, is there a certain somebody you always wanted to work with, or?
I'll throw this out. He just released a track the other day. Adam Reichman.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd love to work with Adam.
Yeah.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
And he's done a lot. I love hearing him play. As soon as I heard that song on KDHX the other day, I knew it was Adam. He's got a very distinguishable voice that is incredible. And I've played with him, not played with him, but we've played shows together, and I always am blown away at his stuff. But yeah, I'd throw that out there.
Now, I was thinking also, like, as far as like your songwriting, when you even with like Vondrukes stuff, and like is it always like you by yourself, like writing lyrics, or do you co-write with other people? Like, would you co-write with Adam if you were like working on something, or is that?
Sure, I'd be up for that.
Yeah,
I would say normally almost 100% of the time in the Vondrukes. So Jeff Griswold and I both write, we both sing whatever it is that we wrote.
Right.
And then with the Poorhouse Says, it was the same way. It was, I wrote, Matt McGee, he wrote,
Right.
and we kind of sang whatever we wrote. And it's still like that with the Vondrukes. And Jeff and I think we've tried to write together a few times, and it's just, it didn't work out for whatever reason on that particular night. Not that it couldn't, just didn't that night.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'd be up for co-writing.
Yeah. I just think, obviously it seems like that's leans more the case that it's a lot more one person brings it to the band and then the band figures out their parts and kind of thing. It just, I think it's so. I had a nice conversation with Dana Michael Anderson the other night, and he's like, it's always been that way for him, like as a solo thing, but now he's like recently been co-writing a lot and loving it. So it's like, I just think it's cool to hear, and like I think the idea, like even tying into what I heard on this MK Ultra interview was like they were talking about some of those songs, like they're not really a lot of those songs they play are not necessarily written by anybody. They're just like verbal. People remember them, and
right.
They've been sung over and over years and years and years. And so the whole idea, like it's just like a giant community type of collaboration. It's like that these songs, and maybe that's why these songs have stood the test of time. There's something great about them because it's so many people put different input into them and stuff. So I think about that too. Like maybe there's something to just collaborating and bringing, maybe something greater with all of us instead of just one person too. So,
right.
Yeah.
I've always thought the idea of writing with someone kind of remotely back and forth is also appealing, where you start a story and of a song and you just send it to whoever you're collaborating with, and they pick it up and they do like verse 2, for instance,
mm-hmm.
and you go back and forth until the story's done.
Yeah.
And so each person kind of gets to make their own twist on where the story's going. Mm-hmm. But as I was thinking through that, I remembered with the Poorhouse Says, Kate Hayes was playing with us for a while, and I don't know if you know Kate, but she's got an incredible voice. And for whatever reason, we were all kind of in a rut from a songwriting standpoint. And so Matt McGee and I and Kate decided we were going to do this thing where we'd all, I forget what we called it. We had some fancy acronym for it, but we were all going to write a song that would be part of a larger album. And each song would kind of tell the story of the album itself. And so we did that for a while. I think we got through about 5 or 6 songs.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Yeah.
So a little bit different take on what you're asking.
Sure. Yeah. I said that there's no wrong way to do any of it. It's just fun to just get different ideas going, get creative in different ways to see how we can get that song together and stuff. So
yeah. With this newer project, one of the things I wanted to do is definitely utilize some of Dave Hansen's influences, and his are different than mine. We have some of the same, but he's kind of like power pop maybe a little bit, and a little bit straightforward, more direct, easy to remember songs. And so I've tried to incorporate that a little bit, which has been fun. And the bassist that's been playing on these records also brings another really interesting set of influences with him. His name's Rob, and I think that's part of the fun too, is just incorporating the different influences, especially like with this new project, which was kind of a blank slate. We can figure out what we want to be.
Right. Yeah, man. Yeah, possibilities are endless.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, very cool, Bob. This has been incredible, man. I'm really glad we did this. And again, you can find I Don't Want You In Here on your digital platforms. Get plugged in with Bob, and keep an eye out. Maybe we'll have a release party this summer or something. I don't know, who knows what will happen, but I would like that. And
yeah, I'll keep you posted for sure.
And maybe some more Vondrukes shows coming up soon, and maybe even maybe something from Mr. Personality coming soon. So
Yep.
keep an eye out. So we got a lot happening. But yeah, thanks, Bob, and
Thank you.
Hopefully, it's not another 7 years we do before we do it again. So, but thanks again for everything, and I will see you soon.
All right. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. Bye, everybody.
See ya.